So a very, very warm welcome to you all. And excuse me, here we are in early May of 2020, and it's very unusual, really unprecedented time. None of us have lived through a time quite like this. Currently in the United States, there are over 67,000 people who've died from COVID-19. Almost 250,000 people worldwide, and here 1.1 million, over 1.1 million confirmed cases in the US. And as well as that, there are the loss of life and the sickness and the fear and the concerns around health. There's also the measures that are taken to limit the spread of the virus, and they're having a huge impact, as we know. Just in the last 5 weeks, 30 million people have filed for unemployment. So it really means there's even more than that number of people whose lives really have been turned upside down. We've all seen the pictures and the film of people lining up for miles and miles in their cars to get food from food banks. We read the stories of people not knowing where the next meal is going to come from, or how they're going to pay the rent, or how they're going to, how their family is going to survive. And so, I often share that we are really all in this together, but we're in it in different ways. Some people are much more directly impacted and feeling the suffering, and others, maybe it's more inconvenience, maybe even a certain novelty, although probably for most that has begun to wear off by now after 7 or 8 weeks. So just wanting to name all that. One additional thing, and I've shared in the past, is just the level of fear and anxiety that are around. I shared a piece from the article from the Washington Post, a couple of weeks ago about almost half the people in the US are feeling experiencing some mental health difficulties due to the situation we're all going through. And there was a piece just the other day saying that 2/3 of Americans say they felt, felt nervous, depressed, lonely, or hopeless on at least one of the past 7 days. Apparently that's even higher among young people under 30. So just holding all of that in our awareness as we come together today and practice together. There's a teaching in the Buddha's teachings of a Brahmin coming to visit the Buddha and ask a question. He wants to know, he says, a tangle within, a tangle without. People are entangled in a tangle. Gautama, the family name of the Buddha. I ask you this, who can untangle this tangle? This sense that we're all kind of caught up in a tangle. It could be a tangle of fear, a tangle of craving, a tangle of disconnection. The ways in which we suffer because, our emotions and our moods and our thoughts and our feelings are all kind of tangled up, tangled up in a stress response or tangled up in anxiety. So the practices that we do, these practices of awareness and compassion and loving kindness, are really a way to untangle the tangle. The Buddha answered the question, said, a person who's established in virtue, discerning, developing discernment and developing the mind, a monk or a practitioner, ardent, astute, can untangle this tangle. Those whose passion, aversion, and ignorance have faded away For them, excuse me, for them, the tangle's untangled. So in a sense, our practice is about untangling the tangle, untangling ourselves from greed, from hatred, from ignorance, from delusion. And a key really to untangling ourselves is this practice of present moment awareness. So I'm going to share a few reflections as we begin, just to kind of map out our time together today. I'm going to share a few reflections, a kind of short talk. We'll then have an opening meditation, kind of help us arrive and settle. We'll then have some sharing, I think in small groups. And then we'll come back together, maybe sharing in the large group, in the full group. Emily will lead us in some mindful movement, and then we'll finish with a final meditation. So that's kind of the simple arc of our time together. And so, just this theme of the practice of awareness, of attention, as really the key to untangling ourselves from suffering, untangling ourselves from stress and from stuckness. When we are caught up in stress or worry, if we're not aware, if we're not conscious, if we're not present to our experience, very easily the mind just kind of spins out, and we turn a worried thought into another anxious thought, and then more thoughts, and then the body gets stressed, and we get caught up in really a tangle of stress and worry. Conversely, if we're aware of our experience, we can simply just notice what's present here and now. So if we feel, if there's an anxious thought, we can notice it. Oh, feeling anxious thought. If there's tension in the body, we can notice, oh, there's tension in the body. If there's a strong emotion that comes up or a strong mind state, we can notice that. We can simply be with this moment as it is, without turning it into something really tangled and something, catastrophizing or, negative thinking that keeps us caught up in suffering. So the key that we keep coming back to is to bring mindfulness, to bring awareness to our present moment experience. I think of mindfulness as like a spotlight, that we can turn on our experience and say, what am I noticing? What am I aware of right now? If we don't bring awareness to our experience, we tend to be controlled by what's unconscious, what's unexamined, what's habitual. The great psychologist Carl Jung said, what is not brought into consciousness comes to us as fate. What is not brought into consciousness comes to us as fate. It's almost like, there's a line of consciousness, and underneath the line, if we're unaware of our experience, it's still impacting how we speak, how we act, how we think, but we're not conscious of it. So what's key, and then we act that out in ways, often in unskillful ways, and we cause suffering to ourselves and to others. So our task, in a sense, is to bring what is unconscious into awareness, bring it above the line. And key to that is awareness, is attention, is the practice of mindfulness. Simone Weil, the French philosopher, called attention the rarest and purest form of generosity. Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity, because what we're really doing is we're giving our conscious awareness to whatever, the person we're with, we're giving them our attention. Think of the difference between that and when we're kind of half present, we're kind of half there, but our thoughts are somewhere else, or we're thinking about the future or something going on elsewhere. We're not being generous. We're not really being present for the person. But if we're really paying attention, we're really listening to them, we're open to what they're saying, that really is a form of generosity. And she also said, attention taken to its highest degree is the same thing as prayer. It presupposes faith and love. So this idea of attention being kind of a form of generosity. And Mary Oliver, beloved poet, said, attention without feeling is only a report. Attention without feeling is only a report. Attention has to have that emotive quality to it, has to have caring with it, or else it's just kind of a report on activities. It's cold, it's impersonal in that way. So what we do in our practice together is we shine the spotlight of attention on our experience. We get to see where perhaps we're acting habitually in ways that don't serve us. And we can say, oh, okay, I'm noticing that now. I can make another choice. So we bring a kind and non-judging awareness to our experience, in a way that's aware, alert, relaxed. We don't have to struggle. We can just be aware of what's coming up. So if there's a strong emotion, the task really isn't to get rid of it or really to do anything with it, except to be aware of it. Let it come, let it go. Let it do its thing, have its expression, do its dance for the time that it's present, and let it go. Because it only really becomes afflictive or negative or problematical if we get into a struggle with it. If we're in a struggle with our experience, we'll experience suffering. There'll be conflict, there'll be tension, there'll be, the Buddhist term is dukkha, there'll be suffering, unsatisfactoriness. So there's no need to struggle. It's just that the only need really is just to be aware of what's coming, let it come and let it go. As the Tibetan Buddhist teacher Chogyam Trungpa said, there's no need to struggle to be free. Ending the struggle is itself freedom. There's no need to struggle to be free. Ending the struggle is itself freedom. Just letting go of that kind of wanting to solve things, wanting to get the answer, and just coming back to awareness, letting everything come and go in its own time. So the other element of attention, or the other element of mindfulness that's key, is the attitude we bring to our experience, to when we put the spotlight on our experience. How are we doing that? What is the way in which we do that? And the invitation is to do that in a way that's relaxed and aware at the same time. There's a lovely quote from the Thai Buddhist teacher, Ajahn Chah, called A Still Forest Pool. He says, try to be mindful and let things take their natural course. Then your mind will become still in any surroundings, like a clear forest pool. All kinds of wonderful, rare animals will come to drink at the pool, and you'll clearly see the nature of all things. You'll see many strange and wonderful things come and go, but you will be still. This is the happiness of the Buddha. So again, if everything comes and goes, there's no need to, be afraid of what's coming up. It's just this, it's an emotion, it's a strong emotion, or it's a strong feeling. Can I just be aware of it? Just be in that stillness, be aware of my direct experience as it is. Then when we do this, we can choose our response. We can choose what's helpful, what will be beneficial to us, and we can let go of what's not helpful. The key teaching of the Buddha was, he said, the task really to find freedom is to do two things. One, to abandon what's unskillful, and two, to cultivate the good. So abandon mind states that lead us into suffering. So if we're caught up in craving, I need this, I want this, I've got to have this, just with awareness to see that and to choose, okay, can I stay with these feelings? Can I make a more helpful choice rather than acting out the unskillful craving, the unskillful behavior? So abandoning what's unskillful and cultivating the good. Cultivating the good is to really invite qualities of heart and mind, like compassion, loving kindness, generosity, gratitude, many others, that really ennoble us, that really bring out the best in us, that really allow our hearts to be open to ourselves and to all others. And when we do these, take these two steps of abandoning the unskillful and cultivating the good, the end of that practice is to find freedom and happiness here and now in this very life. You know, sometimes this path of practice is seen to be a somewhat austere one, maybe, or somewhat focused on suffering. Just an example I got after the last session, in this last week, I got an email from somebody who says, you know, there's a lot of focus in these teachings about suffering, about, you know, working with anxiety and fear and stress and all of those things. And she said, you know, I'm feeling a little bit guilty because I'm feeling really good. You know, I'm feeling, you know, I'm aware of all the suffering and I'm compassionate about it, but my life feels good. I feel some joy. I feel gratitude for my life. Is that wrong? Is that kind of contrary to, you know, I got back to her and said, no, this is a practice of happiness. It's a practice of joy. It's a practice of really being happy, because when we let go of craving, we let go of these afflictive states, you know, these states where we've all of us at some time in our life been kind of, whether it's addiction or something akin to that, where we need to have something we don't have, or we so much want to get rid of something we don't like. You know, we're angry about something, or we're blaming, or we're judgmental. And if we think about that, we can probably recall how painful it is, how difficult it is, how tense it is in our body, how painful it is in our minds. And so when you think about letting go of those afflictive states, what's left really when we let go is peace, is happiness, is a sense, a real deep sense of freedom. And it's interesting that a couple of things, the core of the Buddhist teachings are, as you know, the Four Noble Truths, and each of those truths speak about suffering. You know, the existence of suffering, the origin of suffering in craving, the end of suffering or freedom, nirvana, and the path to the end of suffering, these Four Noble Truths. And they all talk about suffering, but when you think about them, two are really pointing to suffering and where suffering comes from. But the other two are about ending suffering. So it's really a balance. There's the two that focus on this is how we are much of the time and why we are caught up in suffering. But here's the way out of suffering. This willingness through the practice of mindfulness and cultivating these otherwise states to be able to let go, to abandon what's unskillful. So it really is a practice of freedom, of happiness. It's a different kind of happiness because, you know, what we often think of as happiness is about having things and getting things and possessing things. And the Buddha's happiness is really much more connected with letting go of what's afflictive, what's painful, what's difficult. He had said a very interesting thing. He said, what the world calls happiness, I call suffering. What the world calls suffering, I call happiness. So either way you say that what, you know, the world's notion of happiness is really suffering. The happiness of clinging, of craving, of wanting, of getting, that actually is suffering. And the practice of letting go that the world thinks of often as renunciation of, oh no, that's for monks and nuns and ascetics, I don't want anything to do with that. But when we think about it at a deeper level, it's really letting go of suffering, it's letting go of affliction, letting go of what's painful. So, and that's really what the end of the path is that freedom, is that happiness. The Buddha himself was known as the happy one, and the monks and nuns of his time, of his community, were also known to be happy. Just a quote. This is from a king at the time of the Buddha. He says, "Here I see bhikkhus, monks, smiling, cheerful, sincerely joyful, plainly delighting their faculties, fresh, living at ease, unruffled, subsisting on what others give, abiding with mind as aloof as a wild deer's." So that's kind of the notion, really, a sense of well-being where all of the afflictive states, or most of the afflictive states, are kind of put aside. So there's not all the drama and the angst and the suffering, really, that the tangle that I began with here today, that is so much part of our lives and our societies and our cultures. So to invite you to explore this path of happiness, really, and of freedom. And it's a path, that we, moment to moment, we make choices about what leads to greater well-being, what leads to greater happiness, and what leads to suffering. And we let go of what leads to suffering, and we choose to cultivate and develop what leads to happiness and to well-being. So I just leave it there as an opening reflection, and invite us to come into a posture that's comfortable for the opening meditation. This will be around 15 minutes. So just sitting in a way that's relaxed and at ease. Burmese Buddhist teacher U Tejaniya teaches really a very simple practice of relax and be aware. So real emphasis on relaxing the body and the mind, and just being aware of what is here. So take some moments to find a posture that's relaxed and comfortable, with your back straight, inviting the shoulders to relax, letting your hands rest comfortably wherever's easy, in your lap, or on your knees, or on your thighs. If you like, you can close your eyes. Let the attention come inward. Consciously let your attention drop out of the thinking mode, out of the kind of the top of your head, down into your body. Feel the points of contact with the surface beneath you, the chair or the cushion or whatever you're touching. Feeling the sensations of the body, feeling the weight of your body pushing down on the surface beneath you, your feet touching the floor, your hands contact with whatever they're touching. And you might consciously put aside any plans for the future, any thoughts about the past, and just let yourself be here, as fully here as you can be. And it can help at the beginning of a period of meditation to take a few longer, deeper breaths to help us settle down into the more relaxed mode of the nervous system. So if you like, you can take a nice full deep in breath, filling the lungs, filling the chest. Just holding momentarily and then release. Long, slow out breath. Releasing all of the breath. A nice full deep in breath, as though you're inflating a balloon. And then releasing, relaxing, letting go on the out breath. And as you breathe in, you might invite in a quality of calm. Could say that word silently to yourself, calm as you breathe in, calm as you breathe out. Breathing in, calming the body. Breathing out, calming the mind. So letting the mind and the body just settle into being here, relaxed and aware. Whenever you're ready, just letting the breath come back to its natural rhythm, just however it is right now, in breath and out breath. And as another support for relaxing and settling, you might invite a smile or a half smile to your face. See how it feels to bring the corners of the mouth and the corners of the eyes into the expression of a smile. If it's helpful, you might think of someone who easily makes you feel happy or joyful. Loved one, child or a baby or a pet. Maybe letting their image come into your mind and into your heart. See if you can let the smile be a way of inviting a sense of ease, relaxation. If you can, just letting the smile come down into your body, into your heart, into your body. So if you can let the smile be the expression of how you want to meet whatever comes up for you. See if you can meet it with that attitude of a smile. Let your awareness open to your experience as a whole and just notice what's here right now for you. What's standing out? What's predominant in your experience? Perhaps there's a strong bodily feeling, some tension in a particular area or tightness. See if you can just meet that with kindness, with acceptance. Just making space for this. If there's a strong emotion, sadness or anger or fear, worry. See if you can make space for it too. Just letting the feeling come and go. Notice how it feels in the body. Notice the thoughts in the mind and just let them come and go. Whatever's present, see if you can meet it with kindness, with acceptance, with curiosity, with interest. Can this moment be a moment of peace, a moment of freedom? Whatever's here, just meeting it wholeheartedly, with kindness, with acceptance. In the words of Dorothy Hunt, peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. And if it's helpful, using the breath as a kind of home base where you rest your attention and where you come back when you notice the mind has moved into thought. I shared at the beginning just some basic information on those who we've lost in this pandemic. And I want to just bring one of the 67,000 here into our midst today. This is obituary from yesterday's New York Times for Valentina Blackhorse, who was 28 years old, a Navajo pageant winner with dreams. I'll share this. Valentina Blackhorse, the winner of one pageant after another in the Navajo Nation, was known for helping others. When the coronavirus began tearing across her reservation, she counseled family members to stay home, wash their hands, and wear masks. Then the virus somehow made its way into her own home in Kayenta, a town in the Navajo Nation, near the sandstone buttes of Arizona's Monument Valley. Her companion, Robbie Jones, a detention officer with the Navajo Department of Corrections, caught COVID-19, the disease caused by the virus. She cared for him until she got sick herself, her sister, Vanielle, said. She was always that way, looking after others. When Miss Blackhorse came down with symptoms, including shortness of breath and back and knee pain, she went for a test. The results came back on April 22nd and showed she was positive. A day later, Ms. Blackhorse died at Kayenta's health clinic, where Mr. Jones had taken her after she had difficulty breathing, her sister said. She was 28. Ms. Blackhorse, who worked as an assistant at the Denehotso chapter house, an administrative office, was among the Navajo Nation's youngest and most prominent pandemic victims, and her death stunned many. The reservation was already grappling with one of the deadliest outbreaks in rural America, with 1,977 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 62 deaths from the infection as of Thursday, the authorities said. Miss Blackhorse was born on September 2nd, 1991 in Tuba City, Arizona, to Danny and Laverne Blackhorse. Her father was a coal miner, her mother a cook. A former Miss Western Navajo, she had previously held the titles Miss Monument Valley High School and Miss Diné College. She won those titles while starting a family and a career as a public servant, even as she grappled with rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune disease that might have heightened her risk of dying from COVID-19. In addition to her parents, Mr. Jones, and her sister, Vanielle, she is survived by her one-year-old daughter, poet Bessie Blackhorse, and another sister, Victoria. Vanielle Blackhorse said her sister had dreamed of entering politics one day, aspiring to become a delegate to the Navajo Nation Council or even president of the Navajo Nation, one of the largest tribal nations in the United States. But she accomplished her big dream by becoming a mother, said Miss Blackhorse, whose own daughter is the same age as poet Bessie. She loved being a mom to her daughter. It came naturally to her. And finishing this opening meditation with a poem from Diane Ackerman called School Prayer. In the name of the daybreak and the eyelids of morning and the wayfaring moon and the night when it departs, I swear I will not dishonor my soul with hatred, but offer myself humbly as a guardian of nature, as a healer of misery, as a messenger of wonder, as an architect of peace. In the name of the sun and its mirrors, and the day that embraces it, and the cloud veils drawn over it, and the uttermost night, and the male and the female, and the plants bursting with seed, and the crowning seasons of the firefly and the apple. I will honor all life, wherever and in whatever form it may dwell, on earth my home, and in the mansions of the stars. So I'll ring the bell in a moment. We'll go into some small groups, groups of 3 or 4. And the invitation is just to share a little for a couple of minutes on what's alive for you and what's challenging for you maybe, and what you found helpful, what you've found supportive in these times. And we'll come back together after about 10 minutes or so. So Nick, if you can put us in groups and bring us back in 10 minutes or so.
Everybody's on their way back.
Hi there.
Yeah, she was like,
That is one of the main things, is kind of dealing with our emotions.
So I think almost everyone is back, maybe a few more coming back. So welcome back. Just time-wise, what I'm going to invite you to do is, if you'd like to indicate, just was that a positive experience, helpful? Do a couple of things. One, yes, you can do a thumbs up, or you can signal that in the reactions box. And also, please feel free to share in the chat box anything that you'd like to with others. That anything that struck you or stayed with you, and have some conversation there. And what I'd like to do now is to invite Emily to lead us in her wonderful mindful movement, if you're able to do that.
I am. Thank you, everyone. And I just would like you to stand and stretch your arms up, reaching up, extending the rib cage up, and exhaling, and then gather the energy of the sky, of the daybreak and the sunset. Just gather the energy of the sun and bring it to your heart. And then gather the energy of all of us together, the kindness and compassion evident here and now. Bring it to your heart. And gather the energy of the earth, that which flourishes with such abundance, and bring that energy to your heart. We're going to go into cactus arms. In order to do some good twists, we'll go 3 times to the right. Deep inhale, exhale right, and center, right, and center, and right, and center. Deep inhale, and let's go left, and center, left, and center, left, and center. Now stretch those arms up again, reaching, clasp your right wrist in your left hand, breathing in, and tilt to the left. Breathe here, feeling the extension along the right side of your rib cage. And exhale back to center. Grasp your left wrist in your right hand. Breathing in, exhale to the right. Breathing into your left rib cage. And exhale to center. Float those arms down. Just lift your shoulders to your ears softly, gently. And now clasp your hands at the back of your waist and lengthen the arms to open up your chest. Breathing in and exhale. Again, breathing in, open your chest. Here, take an exhale here. Inhaling. Bring your hands back to your waist and exhale. Last time. Inhaling. Exhale, lengthen. And inhale back to your waist. Allow your arms to float. Do your own dance, swinging from side to side or reaching up, just however you wish to embrace this moment. And now place your hands on your thighs. We're going to be going into a forward bend, so breathe in deeply, filling your rib cage. Exhale, allow your head to drop, your shoulders, your middle back. And finally, balance on your 2 feet, lowering your torso down to the ground. Take a good inhale and exhale. Inhaling, exhale. Last time, inhaling. And now press on your feet. Place your hands on your thighs. Rise up with hands at heart center, lifting your torso up, lifting your arms up, release to the sky. Release to the room, all of us in this Zoom. And release to the earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. Lovely. Thank you. Always good to get into the body, to notice those things we might not have noticed as we do the stretching. So that's wonderful. Thank you. And we're going to come into the final meditation now. So take your time coming into a comfortable, relaxed posture. Sitting with the back straight. Inviting the shoulders to relax. Letting the eyes close if that's comfortable. The chest be open so that you can breathe easily. You might consciously drop your attention down into your body. Feel the contact of the body with the surface beneath you. Feel the sensations of the body from the inside. Maybe warmth, coolness, tightness, pulsing, vibrating, tingling. Whatever's here, just to be aware. And if it's helpful, taking a couple of deeper breaths to just help you settle and relax a little more. Just opening to whatever is present with a kind attention. See if you can make space for whatever's coming up, whatever's arising. As the poet Rumi says, welcome the guests, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. So if that image is helpful of guests coming to visit, and just meeting them with a welcoming attitude. It's very easy to get kind of caught up in or fixated in what's difficult, what's challenging. So it can be helpful to come back to appreciate what we have. And take some moments for gratitude. The great Christian mystic Meister Eckhart said, if the only prayer you say in your whole life is thank you, that would suffice. If the only prayer you say in your whole life is thank you, that would suffice. And in the words of the great teacher Lao Tzu, he or she who knows enough is enough will always have enough. So appreciating, grateful for what we have. And meeting whatever comes up with kindness and acceptance. As Rumi says, the dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So making space for whatever is present. this moment just as it is, this moment without judgment. You might notice what your attitude is right now to your experience. Is it one of resisting what's here, or spacing out, or trying to hold on to something you like? Or is it more acceptance and kindness? And see if you can invite an attitude that allows whatever comes up to come and go in its own time. How would it be to end any struggle with the present moment? Using the breath or whatever helps you to be present, to be here. As an anchor or as a home base for your attention. Breathing in, know that you're breathing in. Breathing out, know that you're breathing out. This is from Li Po. The birds have vanished down the sky. Now the last cloud drains away. We sit together, the mountain and me, until only the mountain remains. And coming back, whenever you notice the mind is off in thought, gently, kindly, coming back to the body, coming back to the breath, coming back to this moment. And in these final few minutes of the meditation, you might take a moment to appreciate your own efforts today in coming and together in community, in practicing, in opening to whatever arises in your experience. Appreciating your effort today and your intentions. Also feeling the presence of everyone else here, how we support each other in our practice. You might send a wish of loving kindness out to everyone. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy and well. May you live with ease and with kindness. You might let your wish of kindness and care go outward into the world, to all those, everyone, all who are struggling and dealing with challenges. Humans and all beings near and far, wishing everyone well. May all be safe and healthy and free from harm. May all live with ease and with kindness. Finishing with this poem called Walker by Antonio Machado. Walker, your footsteps are the road and nothing more. Walker, there is no road. The road is made by walking. Walking, you make the road, and turning to look behind, you see the path you never again will step on. Walker, there is no road, only foam trails on the sea. Thank you, everyone, for your presence and your practice here today. It's been really a privilege and a joy to be together and see everyone. We're just going to finish with a few announcements and just share a couple of things. If you'd like to share any final words of goodbye or whatever on the chat, please feel free to do that. And we'll follow up on anything. In terms of the poetry, Pat has been kind enough often to send out some of the poems and references. We're happy to do that. If you're not on the list, you might put your email down and maybe in the chat box, or you can also go to the center's website, info at living-mindfully.org, and just to share a number of things coming up, but I'll be brief and say the end of this month, May 29 through 31, my partner Rebecca and I had a retreat scheduled, a weekend loving kindness retreat, and we're going to do that retreat, only we're going to do it in an online way. So if you're interested in that, check out the IMCW website, imcw.org website. And Pat has put in here pasted information on where you can make donations to support or dana or generosity to support me in teaching, continuing to share these practices and teachings. And as you know, it's how the teachings have come down through 2,500 years, and a practice that we love and want to continue with. So I'm very grateful for the support of everyone that way, and would invite Pat to share any updates about upcoming things that for the community. Pat?
I just posted or reposted the links for the Center for Mindful Living and IMCW websites in the chat window. We've got lots of offerings. There's morning meditations, there's afternoon meditations most weekdays, and there's all sorts of mindfulness related events. And I was thinking that I cast these as being offerings, but in some ways CML is a bit of a convenient fiction. These are all just sort of opportunities for each of us, whether we're teachers or Zoom hosts or participants, just to give to one another, and like we're doing right now. And if you'd like to be on our newsletter to find out about more some of these opportunities, or our website, please send a private chat to Sharon or me with your email address. And I think as we have in the past, we're going to leave this Zoom room open for anyone who'd like to stay and share, maybe have lunch with one another. I don't believe that we have anything coming up. So thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here with you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, good week ahead. Stay safe and well. There is a class Tuesday night from 7 to 8 as well, if you're interested in something during the week, as well as all of the other offerings at the center and from IMCW. I teach on Tuesday evenings as well. So look forward to